All right, folks, how are you? Different a little bit earlier today. I'm trying to catch up with what's going on. How are you, Sam? Nice to see you. Hey, there's a ton of people in here. Hope you guys are all doing well. We'll get to the questions in a couple minutes. Obviously, big news of the day. After I had already edited the podcast, by the way, the trade for Ogbah came through, and I think it threw everything off. I got a little bit of reaction up for the show that's going up for tomorrow for Wednesday's show. Hi, everybody. Man, you guys are great. Coming all in right off the bat. Yeah, make sure as we go, don't start questions yet because I'll just lose them all right now. I'll get to it in a second. Super chat is open. If you want to donate to the channel, you can do that with the little $ underneath the chat. It also highlights your question. So whatever you comment in there, leave a question. And that helps me pick them out. So that's helpful as well. Big news happened. Didn't do much reaction, just the bare bones because it had just happened when I recorded the pod. But end of the day, I think this is a good trade. And you can get all the stats from Sam. He's in the chat. He runs PFF Chiefs. Make sure you check that out. And it's one of those deals. I don't think this is an earth shaker. I see a lot of people feeling like, oh, this is going to be the dude. I don't think that is. Gary Holland, how are you? Good to see you too. This is a good trade. It gained them a little bit of cap space, about $700K. And it let them move a guy that I think they were moving away from. I don't think Eric Murray was going to make this roster. And you all know I've been an Eric Murray guy. I thought he had potential, but that move to safety didn't work for him, or it hasn't worked yet anyway. Maybe it's on that last coaching staff, but that remains to be seen. So you took a commodity in a safety that is thin across the league, that is athletic at least, and has made some big plays from time to time, and he wasn't going to make your roster. So you take him and you move him for a guy that helps you complete your shift to the power pass rush. And that's what it is. That's what Ogbah is. He is a power pass rusher. He can come inside. He played more than half of his snaps inside at 3 technique, 4 technique last year, as well as rushing around the edge. He's not a speed guy. The Chiefs don't have a speed guy in a rush. Not only was D Ford an extreme speed rusher, but now they don't have any. Now they have Speaks, Okafor, and Ogbah all to do the same thing. They're going to overwhelm tackles with power. The bull rush is the best thing for all of them. And I think it's going to be something that they can move pieces around. I think you're going to see a lot more stunts. I think the goal of this, as we're starting to see Steve Spagnuolo's goal take shape, is to not be predictable and to have enough guys that can do enough things that you can move them around. And I think Ogbah's another piece, but he fits the same mold. You can rotate him, Okafor, and Breland Speaks all in the same role. They can all do the same things. They're all powerful. They're all heavier than D Ford or Justin Houston. They all have good length, so they can stand off tackles and other linemen, particularly tight ends, and get that particular shed ability. I'd like to see them both. Breland Speaks get stronger, but because both Okafor and Ogbah are stronger, and that's important. That's goes into being able to shed and being able to move guys around. So I think that overall, you didn't give anything up that you had to hold on to, and you got good value for it, and a guy that fits your role. So end of the day, there's zero risk. If he doesn't work out or if he doesn't continue to progress, he's still a guy with starting experience that can fill in multiple roles, that can do multiple things, and can help this defense transition to this 4-3. Are they going to be dynamic and explosive? No. Maybe they still fix that in another way, but they're going to be solid against the run. They're going to be solid setting the edge. They're going to be solid in the pass rush. And you're going to have to manufacture some pressure maybe. And I think that also leads towards the fact that I think Spagnuolo wants to blitz more than we've seen lately. So that's a big part of it too. Sorry for the condition of the studio. Now that I'm looking at it on screen, there's a lot of crap back there. My apologies. Yeah, all the music gear and everything. I got to clear that out. That's honestly why this is dim most of the time. But hopefully these lights are going to help you guys see me and everything's better. So Lazarus Dressler, appreciate that. No, there's no new news on Hill. Thanks for your donation. And Hill's a touchy situation, right? We don't know anything. We don't know anything that we didn't get in the initial report. So it's a big question mark. And I think they were going to have to look at adding talent through the draft at the position anyway, because I don't think Demarcus Robinson is a guy that you want to rely on, especially if Sammy's going to miss games. He always does. The question is how many. But if you have to go 5, 6, 8 games without Sammy Watkins, do you really want Demarcus Robinson being your number 2? I don't think the Chiefs do. So I think they were looking for talent there anyway. Do you see a camp battle for both DE spots? Jake Bauman? Good question. I don't know about a battle. I think it'll be a competition in terms of who can be the most dominant. But I think it's looking at being a rotation. They want to have some fresh bodies in there. These are bigger guys, more powerful guys, but guys that wear out more. They're closer to D linemen than they are to outside linebackers. So having more of them that you can rotate is a good thing. Okay, start seeing some questions. Can you rank the priorities? Safety, wideout, CB, or LB? Corner, safety, linebacker, then wide receiver. I think the sweet spot for wide receivers is going to be in the 3rd round. I think the safeties is going to be the 2nd round. The corners is going to be in the 2nd round, probably in terms of value for the pick. There could be somebody that the Chiefs want to go get, though, so there's always that factor as well. George with Cleveland, yes, it is going to help the run defense. The front's going to be better in terms of the run and setting the edge around the corners as well. It's Kojak. Good to see you as well. Thanks, bud. Do you see us making any more trades? I think there still is another big one to be made. I know there was a lot of talk about the Chiefs were making a big trade. This ain't it. This is 2 teams that were moving on from guys that probably weren't going to make their roster. 2 guys that they were moving away from, and they were just trading weakness for weakness. I don't think this is a big move. There still could be one out there. I hope that there is. Yeah, I should put that on a t-shirt. I'm sorry I do that so often, but I do. Okay, next. Jerry, no beer yet. I'm still on coffee. I'll get to it. I'm running way behind. But these, by the way, if you want some RGR cups, they're in the store. Got some new ones. Good stuff, but I just haven't had a chance to get it all out there yet. So moving on. My opinion, are we done trading? No, Adrian, I don't think they are. There's still out there, still something out there to be done. Keltzwan, is your favorite corners or edge rusher already taken? Would you take a safety in the 1st round? If you would, which safeties in the draft class do you believe are 1st round worthy? I would. If they grade out that way. I don't have many 1st round safeties. I have Adderley as a late, right around where the Chiefs are picking 25-ish to 30. Adderley is the only safety that I would put in the 1st round. But I like Savage in the 2nd. I like Taylor Rapp in the high 2nd. He's going to go in the 40s, maybe 50s. He had a slow pro day today. He only ran 4.74. So that might hurt his value a little bit, but he's a guy that makes a lot of plays and fits the kind of thing that the Chiefs like. So I could see him somewhere between 30 and 50. So that could be really good too. I said Savage already, right? I think Thornhill in the 3rd, Deontay Thompson in the 3rd. I'd have to look at the rest of the list. I've got all the numbers in my head, and I'm working on the Athletic Matrix guide. I'll have that out hopefully this weekend, maybe next week. I'll let you guys all know that too. It's a draft guide I put out for the last 3 years. I've been doing it for about 8, so I have all kinds of data. And it's really about athleticism and how it applies to positions in the NFL. Next question. Oh, yeah, there we go. Noob Gaming asked about Adderley. That's what I think of him. What's your take on Kemp and Dieter? I think they're guys that have a chance to take a step up the rung. 4th, 5th. Yeah, that's about where they're going to be, but I think they'll be role players, and I think there's plenty of balls to go around in this offense, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. Nathan Altick. Can we get Thornhill in the late 2nd, or do we need to move up? No. From what I'm hearing a lot of good things about his athleticism and his instincts, but I'm hearing that learning defenses is not his strong suit, and had some issues with that in college. So I think he's going to be a 3rd rounder. I don't think you're going to have to go anywhere for Thornhill, that is. Gary Holland, I'm sorry. Gary Holland's next. Ryan, do you take Devin White with the first pick if he falls? in a heartbeat. If he gets all the way to 29, something's probably wrong. But Devin White's a top 10 pick. He's a top 5 pick. In this class, because of its weaknesses and the fact that he plays a middle linebacker spot, he could go top 5. But Devin White is a very, very good player. I'm not a proponent of trading up for him because I think it's going to take a whole lot of draft capital to get up to where you can get him. But yeah, he's a great player. I would like to see him in red, but I don't think it's going to happen. Good question, Gary. Next question. Does this move all but guarantee they take a cornerback or safety? It doesn't guarantee it, but it makes it a lot more likely because I think the value is going to be there. I think power rushers in this draft class perform pretty well, but they're not overly athletic. And I think the super athletic edge rushers in this draft class don't perform that great. So there's a lot of stuff there. You got to sort through it. And I think that makes some of the corners look more attractive. And there's really only 2 first-round corners in the class as far as I'm concerned. Byron Murphy, who's a zone corner, or should be, and Greedy Williams, who's a man corner. So I think if they do select a corner in the first round, and it's one of those guys, it tells you a lot about the system that Steve Spagnuolo wants to run. What player are you praying, Veach? I don't pray about football, first and foremost. Veach does not draft. I don't want to see Jeffrey Simmons drafted by the Chiefs in the first round. I think it's a waste of a first-round pick. He's got a whole year he's going to be out. He's got off-the-field issues. If you can get him in the second or third, okay, but definitely not in the first for me. Okay, my videos. Thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Do you think the defensive changes are more Spags' game plan, Reed's, or Veach's? I think that Andy Reid is giving Steve Spagnuolo freedom to run the defense he wants to. Steve worked for Andy back in the day in Philly. They have a good rapport. I think he trusts him. So whatever Steve wants to do dynamic-wise, I think Andy's going to go with. And I think Veach is bought into the fact that whatever it is, that's the guy running the defense, and you got to give him the tools that he needs. I feel like Brett Veach is very savvy in providing what his coaches need. Maybe he's got a guy that he really likes, and I think he really likes Speaks, and that's why he's on the roster. But I think he also fits into the overall plan. So I think Veach is doing a good job trying to follow what the coordinator wants to do. And that's just my feeling. I don't have any inside information about that. And I haven't heard anything out of any of their mouths that makes me think that is or isn't the deal. That's just my perception from where I'm sitting. Okay. Good question, though. I appreciate that. Abba will help on twists and stunts. Yeah, I think Seth is already looking at that. He's got a couple of clips up. Check his timeline. Definitely, he stunted a lot, and he started a lot inside, and his stunts aren't all just as a 3 technique moving out. He moved on the inside gaps a lot, too, and I think that's another portion of what Spagnuolo wants to do. Clowney, Chiefs films. No, I don't think it's going to be Clowney. Especially with this move. Now you've acquired 2 more ends. I don't think Clowney's in their plans. I think Clowney belongs in a 3-4 anyway. Do you think Breeland's number will be? I have no idea what Breeland's number will be. But we'll find out. I think he wore 26 everywhere else. So I don't know who has that currently. Not off the top of my head, but we'll find out. Thank you, my videos. I appreciate that. What's the one thing the Chiefs can't do in this draft? Can't get hung up on reaching for needs. If the corners aren't there that you have value on, you can't draft them in the first round. There's value. The sweet spot of this draft, like most drafts, is going to be in the second and third round. Day 2 is the key. So I think if you can get more picks in there, I'm okay if they trade back and they don't take a first round selection. Especially now they're shoring things up. So I think that's value there. That's going to be all right. Yeah, Michael Miller. I drink coffee till midnight, whether I need it or not. Unless I'm drinking beer. So that's just kind of the way that it goes. Nathan Brommel, go up and get Noah Fant. I don't need to change your mind. I like Noah Fant. I don't think he's going to be worth moving up for. Tight end in general is not a first round position for me. He had to be really, really exceptional to be a first round selection. Travis Kelce, Gronk was a 2. Kelce was a 3. I mean, first round, I wouldn't trade up for a tight end at all. That's just me. Why would Dorsey want Murray? Because he drafted him, Laddie. Yeah, it's a good question. Dorse falls in love and he likes him and he thinks he can do things. And I think Dorse probably felt like he was saddled with that coaching staff, and that limited how Murray progressed. I think Murray's got more in him myself. I'm a fan of his. I think he showed a lot at nickel corner, and I think he's got to be coached up to be a safety, but I think he still has some upside left in him. Good question. Folks, you make sure you're paying attention to Laddie Morse. He does a good job. Okay, I'm not going to address that one. Next question. Too much pain. Thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Which is more important, QB sacks or pressures? For me, it's pressures. Because you can make a quarterback make his own mistakes or underthrow passes, miss guys that are wide open. I think pressure's important combined with coverage. It's kind of pushing on both sides of a wall. If you're just pushing one direction and you have no coverage to back it up, it's problematic, and we've seen that. So, yes, they lost a lot of pass rush, but hopefully they can raise up the level of the back end and they can push together, and at the end of the day, be a better defense overall. So as long as they're getting pressures, I'm going to be okay with it. None of these guys are going to be, 12 sack guys, I don't think. So I think that is still another move that they may make for more of a speed guy too, because they don't have a speed rusher at all. I don't think they're going to spend a first round thing, but there's going to be value in the third, fourth, fifth guys that can rush with speed that are backups that just do that. And I think there's some value to be found in the draft there. Good question, Payne. I appreciate it. Pyruvate. Heard Jalen Ferguson privately worked out for the Chiefs. I heard the same thing. They may be pursuing him, but he is this kind of guy that they just fulfilled the role with Ogbah. In my opinion, Jalen Ferguson does not belong. He has no value before the fifth round. He just can't move. He's slow compared to Derek Nottie. Put that in perspective. So that's important. And he may be value later on, but I don't think he can help you year 1, 2, 3, anything. So yeah, fifth round or after for me. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I probably have gained weight this offseason. Not really helpful, but thanks. Yeah. Darcel Reed, Mr. Veach, trade a first round pick for Devin White. It's going to take way more than one first round pick to go get Devin White. It's going to take, look what the Chiefs did last year. They had a higher pick to start with, and go to 10. They had to give up 2 number ones. Devin White's going to be a top 5 pick, I think. So you're talking a lot more than that. I don't think it's viable. And I don't think it's a value for, no offense, for an off-ball linebacker at that point. So does the Optic Gaming need a roster change? I'm not sure about that. Whiskey Bravo 85. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate that very much. Your question is, you're the Chiefs GM from now until the day after the draft. What are your priorities in free agency in the draft? I would go get Patrick Peterson. I would give up a first round to do it, and I would lock down half of the field that way. At that point, I would then see if I can move around and try to pull some of the volume that you have in the 6th round, 5th round, and get back into the 3rd. I think if you can make 4 selections in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, you have guys that can start for you in the next 2 to 3 seasons. A couple that can start in year 1. So that's what I would do, and that's the priority I would make. Watch the 3-minute highlight reel of Ogbah. Okay. Are Damian, Hyde, and Darryl enough, or do we get another guy? Scott Loring, good question. I think there will be another guy, but I don't think running back is a value, particularly in this class. This class is poor at best. And I think you can get a guy in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, or even a UDFA that can come in and contribute and be your 4th guy if they even keep 4. I think they would. But Sharkandrick's unsigned too, so you could always probably bring him back as well. But I do like Darryl a lot. I think you guys know that. And I think with Hyde as well as Damian, I think that's where it's going to be. So Whiskey Bravo, thanks for your question. Thank you for that last question, Scott Loring. Dave Perez, is it more like the Chiefs go with a 2nd round player in 1st round, or do they grab a center? I don't know. A lot of people that have ties to the organization are talking about a center. And if you're worried about it, I think why not? I just don't know how the Chiefs actually feel about Austin Reeder, or if they feel it's a priority. I would think it's probably more of a 2nd or 3rd day thing, but I could be wrong. And if he's the top guy on your board that's left and he's got a 1st round grade, then you take him. Danilo DeJulio. Thank you. I see you all the time. Thanks for your question. What's your opinion on the chances they grab Darnell Savage? I think it's a good value. I think they have the room to do it, and I think it would be a good fit. So I would like to see them pursue him. He's a guy that I think can make a difference on the back end. I think it would help Matthew as well. He's got a guy with an edge, from what I understand. I think that's important. Lazarus Dressler, thanks for your contribution. I didn't see a question from you though, so make sure you hit that here lower, and I'll try to answer it. Got yours. Ray Booth, if Sammy stays healthy, does he challenge Hill for yards? It depends on the adaptation. I think defenses are going to try to roll coverage even more so towards Tyreek Hill. I think they're going to see more zones this season, and double stacked ones at that. So it has an opportunity for Sammy. I just don't know if Sammy can take advantage of it consistently. Again, for me, it all comes back to Sammy's health and whether he can stay on the field or not. That was a good question. That was Ray Booth. Lazarus, there's your question. Okay. Do you think the Chiefs should pick another tight end wide receiver in the draft, or who would you pick? I think there's a number of guys. And I think they definitely do need to pick some offense, wide receiver, tight end, interior offensive lineman, swing tackle. There's a number. I like Foster Moreau out of LSU as a tight end that I like a lot. Athlete, can block, but he's not so highly touted that it's an overvalue. Sam, rank your personal preference for the draft 1 to 7. Corner, edge, safety, wide receiver, tight end. Yeah, corner and edge defender are two of the top 4 most important positions. So corner, edge. Then it would be left tackle, quarterback. Obviously, those are the 2 of the top 10. So for me, it would be safety after that because it really needs to be fixed. Linebacker would be the 4th, then wide receiver, then tight end. You need a tight end, but I think you can find some. I don't think that you need to prioritize them on first round, second round. I think 3rd, 4th, 5th is probably a good spot for them. Thanks for the question, Sam. That was a good one. Mike Hall, with the D-line we picked up, how does it affect the cornerbacks and safeties that we look for, or does it not matter? It gives them a little more urgency. They have to be better early in the down because there is no speed rush right now. There's no D Ford getting there on the 3rd step of the drop back. So they have to be good early in the down, but I think the power helps them late. And they might not have to cover quite so long because D Ford was, and even Justin Houston at times, was able to be doubled and taken out of the play, and they didn't have enough else coming. So I think mush rush, blitzing, I think that's going to help the secondary overall. Good question. 26 is Damian Williams. Thank you, Laddie. I appreciate that. Oh, Sam said the same thing. Yeah, I'm not very quick today. Sorry. Too many numbers in my head. Casey wanted question mark. Are the Chiefs done in free agency? Salty Dog 23. Free agency, probably not. They'll probably make another small pickup, somebody, role player, maybe. It depends. I don't know if they can pull off a trade or not, but I think they're probably looking at it. We'll see if it actually happens. Danilo Ogbah looks like an edge setting, block shedding, run stuffing, solid DE, and I like that. Thoughts? Yeah, I agree. He's just not a flashy pass rusher. He's not somebody that's going to be dominant in getting to the quarterback, and I think that's still a need that needs to be addressed or supplemented through scheme and blitzing, etc. Dylan Hale, do you think Veach is prioritizing the long run success over attacking this Super Bowl window? I wouldn't say that. I think this is a really daunting task to just rebuild the defense from scratch, and it takes steps. It feels like you've got a house with a cracked foundation, and you're settling the foundation. You're reinforcing. You got the rebar out. That's what it feels like to me. And as they go on, as they get to the draft, maybe they're going to take some of those window dressing positions, like a lockdown corner. If they're going to play zone, I think Byron Murphy's the best corner in this game, but he's not a man cover. He doesn't have the speed, but he's got instincts and he hits like a ton of bricks. He plays zone really well. So if they think they're going to play more zone, and that's what Spags wants to do, I think he's going to be a great pick that they probably have to move up for, but not a lot. So I think that could be a good value too. Let's see. Do you have a favorite tight end in the draft? I don't have a favorite. I like the more athletic ones. I like Moreau. I like Knox, although Knox didn't really produce much. And that's the hard part is, especially at tight end in college, you just never know whether the quarterback could get it to him or if they were, last in priority in the league, in the offense. There's just too much questions. So I look at traits, and if a guy can get open and he's got the athleticism to beat linebackers, that's what I'm looking for. Next question of the Chiefs. No, I answered that. What about Xavier Rhodes or Peterson in a trade? I don't think Rhodes is going to go anywhere. I don't think they want to part with him, and he might be a little bit more difficult to get loose. I think Pat's already had some issues. I think it's all about value for both of them. So if they can strike a deal, this might be a really long negotiation that might come down to draft night for all I know. Draft night has a way of kind of like pushing them to get something done. So that could be true. Jalen Ramsey. I don't think that the Jags will part with him at all. I think they still feel like, despite his attitude issues and the things he's had run-ins with teammates, I think they still feel that he's a building block. And so I don't think they're going to move on. Why not take Hakeem Butler in the first round, John Christensen? Because he's not a first-round value. He's a guy that runs about 4 routes from what I've been able to watch. He doesn't have lateral agility. He's good at what he does, but he and DK Metcalf, if they're taken in the first round, are both going to be overdrafted for what they do. DK Metcalf was like the third option in his college offense. So that and the fact that he's got a debilitating injury that could reoccur at any moment, you could get 4 snaps out of DK Metcalf and he'll never play again. If there's just way too much risk with him, and there's not enough that they do. Look at what Reed wants to do. He wants to run crossing routes. He likes to get guys behind the defense. So straight ahead speed can work, but you got to be multiple in this offense. And I just don't see that. And I think value in the second round, I think Butler's a second round pick, and I'm okay if they take him there. I just don't think he's worth going up into the first 4. Gary Holland. Okay. Answered that. DJ Plesser. Sorry. Is Byron Pringle going to be any good? I think he has a chance. I just don't know. And I don't know that the team knows. He got hurt so early, had so little chance to develop. I think they're going to give him a good shot, and I think they should. And he could make this roster as one of the lower-end wide receivers. And good for him. I think athletically he's got it in him. Let's see how he does in the OTAs and how they feel about him as camp opens. Sorry about that. Okay. Red Royce. Yeah, it looks like we do have about 450 folks. Thanks. That's great. Nice to see you. We're just going down the questions here for all of you who joined late. Would Spags want Greedy Williams over Murphy? He has played a lot of man in the past, but remember back when Landon Collins first came to the league, he started playing more zone. And I think when you look at the guys that he has, they all play a lot zone. The Redskins, Fuller and Breland played a lot of zone there, predominantly. They can play man, but they played that there. If they feel like their best option is to play zone, I think they have the guys that can do that, and I think Murphy's the pick there. Otherwise, yeah, Greedy Williams is the best cover guy, but he doesn't want to support the run. He's pretty frail, and some of the bigger receivers like Sutton in Denver, they're going to beat him up. So I don't know if that's the best choice. I'm trying to find a way that whichever way they go, whichever scheme they're going to play, there are options. So I think that's good. With the Tyreek news, yeah, they could draft one. Adam Boyer. Oh, I just answered Adam's question. Sorry, I read it twice. Steve Ehlers, I'm just still drinking coffee. I haven't gotten to the beer yet tonight. Mine Sheep. Do you think the Chiefs are going to trade up? I think they are. I think that's probably option number 1. Option number 2 would be to trade back. I think there's maybe a 20% chance that they actually pick at 29. Laddie Morse, thanks for throwing in. I appreciate it. What's the upside of Ogbah? Ogbah's a guy that I think can do more than he appears to. And I think, personally, I'd like to see them set him up to have matchups. I'd like to see him drop a little bit of weight because I think he could be a little bit more explosive. He weighed in. I mean, he was listed at 278 last year. I think he played closer to 290. I think he can come down off of that. But I think he's a guy that can move around. And if once you get him in the building If you feel that he's better playing a 3 technique in nickel, then let him do it. But I think that's the upside is he's a guy that understands the NFL game because he's got a little bit of experience, and I think he hasn't hit his peak yet. So, guys, Laddie's got a great question. That's what I think the upside of Ogbah is, but I don't think that's why he's here either. I think he's decent value for moving off a piece you were going to get rid of, and you're taking a chance, but if you get there, it's low risk for a high reward if he does hit better upside. So that's what I think. Thanks again for the donation, Laddie. I appreciate it. Isaac Nada, I liked him on film. I don't know that he's athletic enough to play in the league. I don't want to base too much on testing. He didn't look overly athletic on film, but the testing was bad. So I don't know if you can take a chance on that. It depends on what they see, if they work him out in person or if they were at the Georgia Pro Day. I didn't hear about how big the Chiefs were at the Georgia Pro Day, so that kind of remains to be seen. JJ Allison, should they go after another receiver? Yeah, I think they should. Whether Tyreek's, in hot water or not, I think they need one. Let's see here. Who's the best free safety in the draft? I think the best overall is still Adderley. I know we got a lot of early hype, but I think that's probably still true. I think Deontay Thompson is falling off. I think he's 4 now. I would put Savage and Thornhill behind him there. And that's if you're talking about not taking a corner that could move back, because, I mean, honestly, there's probably 5 corners in this league that could move back to safety and play well in zone, looking at that deep middle. I think the guy that you got to watch out for is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He can play nickel, which he played a lot of his senior year, but he played free safety before that. That's a versatility the Chiefs don't have right now. Well, I guess maybe they do with Matthew, but if you had 2 of those guys, I think that's an interesting pick too. I think he's probably a 3rd rounder. I don't know where in the 3rd round. I'd have to look and see people who know him better than me are thinking there. But that's another name to watch. I don't know what that name is, but if Reese has the offseason knowing he wasn't going to get Earl Thomas, do you think Houston and Barry would be on the roster? I think Barry would. I think they were very, very close to getting Earl Thomas. I think that's how they were operating. I haven't heard anything about the Chiefs actually trying to acquire AJ Green. I think the Bengals would be nuts to get rid of him for whatever the cost. He's somebody you can build an offense around. Okay, we're getting down to it, folks. We've been going over a half hour. I got about 10 minutes left, and then I'm going to be on the radio in Denver. So if you want to hit my high sports, I'll be on there. Is Marquise Brown available at 29? Would you be okay with it? Elijah Waffle Irons. Oh, I like that. That is a really good question. Marquise Brown was my wide receiver 1 during the fall season. The injury has me scared. Liz Frank can sometimes be fine. It can sometimes ruin a career. So I'm really, really not like super comfortable with him. But he's a small guy, so you got to worry about that a little bit in general. But man, he's a firecracker. He's got the speed, he's got the agility. I don't think he's super shifty, but shifty enough. I think AJ Brown is a guy that's more likely going to be there, that I think you can take more comfortably without as much risk. So think AJ Brown a little bit too. Gary Holland, Ryan, will you have a Q&A podcast before the draft? Probably not a pod. The Locked On Chiefs pod, we do the mailbag Q&A. Seth handles that. I really like to have the interaction, but you can send us in some questions and we'll just try to answer them randomly. We're really trying to play with how we're doing the pod because we just have so many voices, so many guests to get on. It's going to be kind of back and forth. Do you need another duo like we had with Derek Thomas and Neil Smith, like we had back in the day? Yeah, Lazarus, I miss those guys too. You just can't replace that kind of stuff. And quite honestly, you don't get that kind of play in today's league. Passing game, the spread game, it's changed things. I think you do have to be a little more reliant on coverage because you don't have the time. You don't have the 7-step drops that Neil and Derek got to go after. So I think there is a difference in the game. Local C, what round would you take Sheldrick Redwine? I haven't watched his film. But I've read a couple of things, and I like his athleticism. So I'd say midday 3, 5th round. I don't know. I'd have to take a look. Where'd we go? Okay. Does Taylor Rapp's poor time cause him to drop? Yes. Brian LeBurge, this is your question. It does cause him to drop. I don't think it's going to be a ton, though. I think he was like maybe a mid-30s pick yesterday. I think he's, at lowest a mid-50s or 60 pick today. So it actually might play into the Chiefs, their plans, because I think they like him. And I think this might cause some other teams to fall off of him, and maybe they get a chance to take him in the second. We'll see if they're picking at 29 or if they move back. He's definitely a guy I think they would be targeting. Good question. Pyruvate, I don't have any insight on Derek Kindred. Ethan Rottinghouse, sorry. Glad you're new. Welcome. And I appreciate you hanging out. I'll do my best to give you my opinion anyway. It won't always be right, but it'll be my take. Sam, you're right. Marquise Brown has a significant injury history. Riley Ridley has gone downhill for a guy whose brother has had such success in the NFL. He wasn't like the first option in the Georgia offense. He didn't test well. I've heard rumors that he didn't interview that well. So I don't know. Is it little brother syndrome, or is he just got to get in the league and see what happens? I don't know what's going on with Riley Ridley. Okay, we'll do 4 more minutes. Which team in our division is shaping up to give the Chiefs the biggest challenge? Nomad Kai. It's going to be the Chargers. I think they've made some good improvements. In fact, I'll probably do a video, if not a video, a podcast on what the rest of the AFC West has been doing. The Chargers are making headway as well. Next question. Fireman 10 to Juice. Do you think Passanio will develop? I don't know. I think he has a chance because I think Spags will play some wide 9. I think that's what K-Pass did very well in college. But he did it at a level of competition that seems to be catching up with him. Making the jump is tough. Maybe it's the staff. I don't know. I think they're going to give him another shot, another solid shot. And if he can't do it then that may be the end of the road for K-Pass, at least in Kansas City. Good question. Joshua Rue, do you like Andy Isabella and all the pre-step stuff he does? Yeah, I like Isabella. I think he's overhyped right now. I think he's a 3rd-round guy. But that's me. It's going to be okay. I think he will definitely go somewhere, and I think he will help. He's not like the instant slot guy, though. He's not that shifty. And if you're going to get a slot guy, I think I'd probably go with A.J. Brown over him. So, Curtis Douglas, what linebacker can you see us taking with one of our 2 second-rounders or a 3rd? The linebackers, man, it is a steep drop-off after Bush and White. After the Devons, it's really unclear as to who could play 3 downs. I think there's guys that can play coverage and there's guys that can stop the run. I don't know how many of them can do both beyond Devin and Devin. I wish there were more. Linebacker, I think, is the heart of any defense because you got to have versatility there. So there's a couple of guys, and I'll have some write-up when I do the draft guide. I'll point some of that out. And I'll have a discount code for you guys so you can get a chunk of money off of the draft guide this year. Okay, 2 more questions. Who's up? Chiefs Films. Defensive rank prediction for 2019. I'm going to go with 21. We'll see what they can get done. And I think it'll be enough. I think there's a Super Bowl in this team's future. That's a good question. Lazarus. Nope, that's not a question. But hey, I'm glad. Good to see you from South Dakota. I answered that one. Joe Cunningham. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Okay. Danilo, last question. What about Trey Lamar or moving up for Chase Winovich inside to push Rags? Chase Winovich is still, I think, best on the edge. I don't think you want to put him in a stand-up off-ball linebacker. Maybe if you were going to put him at Sam a little bit so he could rush what he wanted and he could, jam some routes, maybe. Trey Lamar makes some plays. I don't know if he's athletic enough to keep up in this league. That jump's going to be pretty stiff. So I think that's going to be the big question. I will definitely take a look and give you guys a list of some linebackers to look at here in the next week or two. Definitely pre-draft. And the week before the draft, I'll have my draft board up. We'll do it on a video or something, or I'll post it online. I go through it every year, and I'll show you where my grades are and what I think is value. We can go through the whole draft board. So I'm pretty consistent. I'll probably only have 18 to 22 at the most first-round grades. So that'll give you an idea of where the value's at. Good question, Anil. I appreciate it. All you guys, thanks for hanging out. Laddie, Sam, all you guys to contribute around the web to Chiefs Kingdom. Thank you all for your work as well. I appreciate you guys all hanging out here, and it's been great. 400 plus. We're still almost 400. So I hope you guys have a good night. I'll be back next Monday, just like always. And I'll have another video for you later. Might be short. Draft guide comes out next week at the latest. Keep an eye out for that. Thanks for all of your time. Listen to Locked On Podcast, and we'll be back. All right? Talk to you.